Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Inside the 20 with myself and Keith Niebuhr and Cole Pinkston. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3, and we will do our best to get as much recruiting intel to you inside the 20-minute mark. I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Keith Niebuhr and sometimes by Mr. Cole Pinkston. How about you, fellas?
What's up, man?
I appreciate y'all including me into y'all's deal here.
You should be honored.
I am. I'm very honored.
We feel like you can provide some extra insight, Cole, and especially on some guys we're going to be talking about today. Auburn had another large group of visitors on Monday. Cole and I were there. Keith was helping out from afar, but big help he was. And then today, another 3 top recruits visiting Auburn. Before we get to that, though, I wanted to answer these 3 emails I got in the last 10 minutes, wanting to know where in the hell they could find a new or used car. Folks, I've got it right here. Caleb Schofield, Mike Patton Auto in LaGrange, Georgia, there off of Lafayette Parkway, man. He has got the car for you. He'll have it delivered anywhere in the United States. He gets it done. Just ask Keith. Caleb Schofield there, 334-531-0996. New Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Hondas. And if you need something else or need it used, he's got it, big dog. He's got a big, fantastic used car lot. All those used cars have to pass a multi-point inspection before they even consider putting them on the lot. And then they back those used cars with a free 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty. And the new cars come even more guaranteed. Lifetime powertrain warranty, unlimited time, unlimited mileage. It's a pretty big deal. Not in the market for a car, but know somebody who is. Send them to Caleb. He'll send you $300. Not a bad deal. Another good deal. Caleb Schofield, Mike Patton Auto in LaGrange, Georgia, 334-531-0996. Man, tell them we sent you. All right, folks. Cole, you were there Monday. You spoke to Kamarion Franklin, the #1 recruit in Mississippi. You spoke to Jalen Mbakwe, the #1 recruit in Alabama. Let's start with those 2 guys. Mbakwe was one of the first to leave, but it wasn't because it was early or he needed to leave. He had attended practice and was getting out of there, I guess, shortly after the window.
Yeah. He left about, I guess it was an hour or so after practice had started. So he'd been there for a while. I don't know what to think about him, to be honest.
Fair.
Don't have a clue.
What did he say? Give everybody kind of a rundown of what he said.
Yeah, so he said, well, hey, this was way better than last time I was here, 100%. Asked him why. He said, well, I felt a little bit more love from the coaches. I felt like it was the team was bonding a little bit better. It just seemed like a better – honestly, he said it seemed like a better product out there to him because he's been to a practice before. Wasn't his first time. So he enjoyed that part of it. He enjoyed seeing how, the team bonded, the way that they practiced, all that kind of stuff. So that's all I know about him so far.
Okay.
Will he be back? He said he doesn't have anything scheduled yet, but an official visit most likely will happen.
He is an Alabama commitment. He's a 5-star, the #10 overall recruit in the country, the #1 player in Alabama. He committed to Alabama like last summer. I believe it was June of 2022. And as we said on this show Monday, or maybe it was Sunday night, I mean, he is committed to Alabama, and everybody who has followed Auburn for the past 20 years recruiting knows that it is almost impossible. It's very rare that Auburn can flip an in-state 5-star recruit from Alabama. But you at least got to try, especially if the kid's at least listening. So temper your expectations here. But something worth following. Cole, keep going, the #1 recruit in Mississippi. Yep. Also was there Kamarion Franklin, 4-star defensive lineman. I think he is top 70, I think, overall recruit in the country.
Yeah, he looks the part. There's no doubt about that. I saw him standing over there watching the defensive line at practice Monday, and he was very into that, the drills and the sled and everything that the defensive line does over there. Watching Coach Garrett real close, and he said that afterward. I like Coach Garrett. He sort of slipped into the picture here pretty late, because they're a new staff at Auburn and all that. He's been recruited by several schools for a while now. He and his teammate, 2025 Jacoby Hobson, I think is how you say his name, who's going to be a stud as well.
#2 player in Mississippi for 2025. Sorry.
Yes. And both of those guys stayed overnight, came back for part 2 on Tuesday. I saw them there yesterday as we were getting interviews with coaches. So, interesting deal there. It's not like I don't really know where Lake Cormorant is, but it's in Mississippi. So, I mean, you had guys come from Arizona, Texas that didn't stay 2 nights. He did. So I thought it was interesting. I think he really likes Jeremy Garrett. I think he likes Hugh Freeze. He said Hugh Freeze makes an effort to have a relationship with both of us. And he said that's something that stood out to him. And you know what? After talking to Ben Agamawa yesterday in our roundtable discussion we had with him, he was asked something along the lines of, what is the strategy by Hugh Freeze? What is the recruiting style? He said, he couldn't believe and I couldn't believe because I've been with him so long. I guess he's rubbed off on me. Wow. All these parents, they're not hearing from coaches. He said, there's a lot of people that go into the decision-making process. It ain't just the kid. So we're trying to win those battles. We want to be the first person in their contacts that they would call, that kind of thing. And all these recruits are sort of relaying that to me as well.
Lake Cormorant looks like it's the farthest northwestern portion of Mississippi, up near Memphis.
I was going to say Cole needs to get a map. This is about the 5th time he's told us he doesn't know where her place is. Cole, I'm going to teach you how to use Google Maps, okay? Jeff and I both looked it up. No, I'm just kidding. But, hey, look, I mean, defensive linemen, we always say the Carolinas, there's a lot of good defensive linemen. Well, the state of Mississippi's produced a lot of good defensive linemen too. And Derek Hall's not a defensive lineman, but an edge rusher. And that's where Auburn went and got him. Fletcher Cox, the great NFL defensive lineman, was born in Yazoo City, Mississippi. Chris Jones, the great NFL defensive lineman, is from the state of Mississippi as well. He played at Mississippi State. So there are a ton of good-looking year in and year out defensive linemen that come from that state. Big physical guys, and Jeffrey knows this because he's been doing this longer than I have in this region. When guys come out of Mississippi, they're not at their ceiling yet. This isn't like some guys in Texas that are already almost at their ceiling, or quite frankly, as some coaches are saying now, Gwinnett County, Georgia, guys may be hitting their ceilings earlier. And that's a little bit of a red flag, but these are guys with untapped potential. And it's good to see Auburn get over there and get active, and why not with all these coaching connections. Hey, Jeffrey, Lake Cormorant is not far from where N'Kobe Dean, the great linebacker at Georgia, was from. And, that was one of those official visits. I can't remember whether you were there or not, Jeffrey. I know Jason Caldwell was there when he visited Auburn, when it was time for them to leave Sunday night to go home. They couldn't find the car keys of the host shuttle. They were stuck there about an extra hour or so, and not happy, by the way. But anyway, good stuff, Cole.
Let's keep it going. Let's stay in state, because I want to stay Jalen Crawford and Bradley Shaw.
Yeah.
Cole, 4-star linebacker from Hoover. Auburn was not much in it. It may still not be, but he was there for practice on Monday. He left. He said, I think Auburn would definitely get an official visit. It seems like Auburn's at least creeping back into his recruitment. Do you think that's fair?
I would say they've always been there.
Okay.
Just maybe not. I feel like other schools jump over Auburn at times.
Am I confusing Bradley Shaw for the kid from Vestavia?
No.
Okay.
To me, both of those guys are going to be tough for Auburn.
Okay.
I just have that feeling. I don't know how to explain it other than that. But Bradley Shaw came back. He was at practice. He was one of those guys that was kind of intent on watching his position group, watching in his case Aldridge in action, and he spoke highly, I thought. But it's that all these schools he named, like Notre Dame, is somebody which actually lines up pretty well with what I've been saying about him. Something to me feels like he would not mind getting out of the state of Alabama. I just felt that way, and I had no idea Notre Dame was a part of it, but there you go. And he's probably going to take an official visit there. And, Notre Dame won out with Jaden Osbury last cycle, who Auburn really wanted, had his brother on the team. Still couldn't get him away from Notre Dame. So that's interesting to me.
And Christian Robinson doing the recruiting. That was probably a big red flag there.
Yeah, right.
Keith, let's get Casey Poe. Cole talked to him. Since you got to listen to it, you wrote it up. It was a very detailed interview. 4-star interior offensive lineman from Texas comes over to Auburn for the second time, if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe that was the first. That was the first. Yeah.
Well,
what was your takeaways from that, Keith?
Yeah, if you're talking about a top 100, 150, depending on who's ranking them, national recruit, inside offensive lineman, 6'5", 260, 270 in that range. Looks bigger than that, though.
He does.
First thing I need to point out, he's one of those guys that is so – gosh, he's such a good talker and so descriptive and so enthusiastic. But is he like that with every school? Is he like that when he talks about Clemson and when he talks about Georgia Tech? That I don't know. But what I do know is he said a heck of a lot of nice things about Auburn, very detailed. This was a visit he has wanted to take for a long time. He says he recognizes the SEC is where the best football is played. He's been communicating with quarterback Walker White, the Auburn commitment. So it went well. It exceeded his expectations. There really wasn't anything he didn't like about the visit. And now he's saying, hey, look, I'm going to be back. Will you give Auburn an official? I don't know, but I'm going to be back. It sure sounds like Auburn's going to get an official visit from him. I mean, you get that feeling. I think on this same trip, he visited Clemson and Georgia Tech. And Clemson, look, they've done a great job nationally recruiting the last few years. And I think he said similar things about Clemson. So they're probably going to be a threat. They're also in it, the big offensive lineman from the state of Georgia that Auburn, Jamison Riggs. I think Clemson's with him too, I want to say.
Yeah.
So, look, Clemson's going to be a factor. And then obviously what happens out in his neck of the woods. He's from East Texas. So he's not from anywhere near Austin, let's say. But if University of Texas pushes, it's still the big in-state school, so you may want to keep an eye on them too. But it sure sounds like Auburn's in this thing. And Cole, I'll let him speak to this, but he's clicking with Auburn like Walker White on levels that go beyond football. But football-wise and campus-wise and school-wise and connecting with the coaches, all that went well. A 10 across the board for Auburn there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Cole has any additional thoughts on.
Cole, I think you walked away from that feeling pretty good.
Well, before he'd even gotten to campus, I had like a 20 to 30-minute phone conversation with Casey, and that's just how it is. He's a guy that likes to talk, and I think it was. I do think he has interest in Clemson. I think he has interest in Texas and all these places, but he does have a lot to say about Auburn. There's no doubt. And one of the things he was talking about Lindale, which is where he's from, Lindale, Texas. He said, "Well, Auburn really reminds me of Lindale. It reminds me of home. It reminds me of the same kind of town. Everything's similar here." And then, of course, just watching him, I mean, he hung out in the lobby for 10 or 15 minutes before he came and talked to us, and he was hanging out with Jake Thornton. His parents were, hitting it off with Jake Thornton. It seems like a good personality match to me, especially they were sitting there like comparing their boots, and I was like, yeah.
Hey, not only did he – sorry, Cole. Not only did he say that Auburn, the town, reminds him of Lindale, Texas – he said Auburn, the way the culture is at Auburn reminds him of the culture at his high school program. So, and also the plays and how they practice. And he said, hey, look, if I was to go to Auburn, it'd be a smooth transition. And that's something to think about too. And also, can I point out one thing? A lot of these kids are saying that I've talked to, and I think either Poe or Dylan Hipp said the same thing in the interviews I did with them, that Auburn is telling them we're here. We need to be here. They're not saying – they're not pretending like Auburn is some 10-win program right now. It sounds like they're being straight up with the guys. Auburn is not where it needs to be. Need guys like you to get Auburn back to where it should be. And, to some kids, that's not appealing. Some kids want to start at a program that's already on third base, already at the top. But to others, there is something appealing about being part of something special, about the rebuild of a program and taking a program back to where it was and maybe even new heights. So I think Casey Poe is one of those guys that is appealing to.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, real quick, you talked to Dylan Hipp, tight end from Arizona. He came in, I think, Monday, left early Monday. Actually, he came in Sunday, left early Monday. What was your takeaways from Dylan Hipp?
Well, he loves Ben Agamaya, the tight ends coach. He loves that Ben was at Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze when Evan Ingram was there. But they had another a tight end that made the NFL too, and his name slips my mind. But he's
Knox.
That's right. That's right. Hey, these guys have a history. This isn't like a leap of faith. They've done it. I mean, they throw to the tight end. They've gotten tight ends to the NFL, and not just guys that get to your school when you already know day one they're going to be playing in the NFL. I mean, Evan Ingram was 210 pounds, 205 pounds when he got to Ole Miss. Nobody knew he was going to be a first-round pick and an NFL star. So, they developed the guy. That's an important aspect too, not just who can get me there, who can get me there by developing me and getting me there, So he's a high 3-star in Arizona. I think you're going to have to keep an eye on the University of Arizona there. They're recruiting a guy I went to college with, Jed Fish, got Arizona recruiting at a really high level. And so, for them. And so I think you got to keep an eye on them. But he said he's got like a top 8. Auburn's in that top 8. But he said Auburn's got a really good chance of getting an official visit. And here's another thing. So what was I going to say? Oh, Auburn's going to take 2 tight ends. So even if you land the Collins kid out of Georgia, Martavius Collins, you're still going to have room for another one. And I think, we used to say, Jeffrey, you go out of your footprint you would go out of your footprint for a quarterback. Walker White's from Arkansas. That's not in Auburn's footprint. A left tackle, premium position, maybe a cornerback. I think you got to throw tight end into that group.
Yeah.
I think you got to throw tight end in that group because these guys have such a track record that they're going to be appealing to tight ends from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine. I really believe that. So we'll see. I could be wrong. Now, the best tight ends seem to be in Georgia right now, so you may not have to go far, but I think they have the ability to do so.
I'm curious to see what Ben Agamaya does with the tight end group. Martavius Collins, Landon Thomas committed to Georgia. Martavius Collins was committed to Alabama. Curious to see how he pairs up his tight ends. But the guy I walked away from Monday afternoon feeling really good about, Cole. Me and you both, we got some extra time with him. Jalen Crawford, top 100 overall recruit from Parkview there in Lilburn, Georgia. And I tell you what, Cole, Antonio White, who was with him,
is
an unranked, or I think maybe a 3-star on one site, but he is listed as a wide receiver. Dude's 6'2", 175. He looks good. Auburn likes him at defensive back at that place, that safety position. And him and Jalen Crawford are very close friends, as is Mike Matthews, the 5-star dual sport stud from Parkview. All 3 of those guys, wouldn't be surprised to see them land at the same school. I certainly think Jalen Crawford, I think, Cole, and I think you would agree after talking with him again, Auburn is the team to beat for him.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I do. It's hard not to after talking to him like that the other night. I really do think that I think Clemson's in there. You got some other schools. He's going to check them all out, whatever. But, yeah, you can tell there's something there with Auburn, 100%. And I really don't know how to explain that either. Yeah. It's just a feeling I think we both got from talking to him. We had the who's better, Michael Jordan, LeBron debate with him and all that.
And Antonio comes up with the Kobe.
Yeah, he said, "Nah, man, Kobe. That's Kobe's number 1. I would give Kobe the last shot."
That's what I told him, Keith.
Get him off the list of players.
I said, same team. You got Kobe and Jordan, and Antonio White said the last shot's going to Kobe. I said, shit, dude.
I don't totally disagree, but I would go MJ. But anyway.
I said, give me Larry Legend, big dog.
Well, yeah.
Well, hey, how about all the DBs? We talk about this every show. I mean, how about the defensive backs Auburn's in with? I mean, legitimately in with. Not like, hey, they're in the top 12. Like guys that they really could. Yeah, Jalen Howard visiting on Friday, the Georgia commit from Rockledge, Florida. I mean, it's just one DB after the other. You guys talked to Jameer Grimsley the other day from Tampa. I have no idea where he sits on the board, but right after he visits Auburn, Tennessee offers him, and he's closing in on 30 offers now. So I mean, Zach Etheridge and Coach Crime, Wesley McGriff are getting it done right now.
It seems like the only position they're not really playing from behind with, because you have 2 4-stars committed at nickel and safety. So, you got good corners coming in from the last class.
What
you got Zach Etheridge being retained and carrying over those relationships.
Yeah, so they can kind of be choosy there, it seems like.
Look, Etheridge is an alpha dog recruiter. I've been avoiding going that far, but what he did with Kay and Lee and maybe he didn't have Tony Mitchell. I mean, but with the finish, Tyler Scott, who everybody wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, Tyler Scott had a relationship with Wesley McGriff too, but I think he might have been going to Auburn anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, Zach is getting it done, no doubt.
Fantastic show once again. Listen, we're going to be back Friday, but I want to make mention of the top three guys expected to be in Auburn today. Perry Thompson, the 4-star Alabama commitment, a wide receiver, 4-star defensive lineman Justin Green, the number 10 defensive lineman in the class. And guess who's coming back? JoJo Phillips, the 4-star linebacker from Tuskegee, is coming back. He was in Auburn March the 1st, the first day the dead period lifted. He's coming back, and I wouldn't be surprised if he came back again before April 8th. So another big day for Auburn, and then Friday is going to be off the charts, man. We'll check back in with us on Friday, maybe Thursday evening. We'll have a more in-depth recruiting show then. Real quick, I know a couple of texts while we were doing the show. They wanted to know what Caleb's number was. Caleb Schofield with Mike Patton Auto there in LaGrange, Georgia. Give him a call for all your car buying needs. 334-531-0996. Tell him we sent you. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. For Keith, for Cole, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay out of that left lane. See ya.